This isn't just a business story. It's really an epic. We're talking about the tale of how one man, starting with what was basically less than $1,000, built one of India's greatest corporate empires, and in the process, changed the entire nation forever. This is the story of Dhirubhai Ambani.
Okay, to really get a feel for his impact, I want you to picture something. The year is 1986. We're in Bombay. There are 30,000 people packed into an open field, but they're not there for a cricket star or a politician. They're there for a businessman. To them, he wasn't just some CEO. He was, and I'm quoting here, a deity, the man who had made them rich. This was the annual general meeting of his company, Reliance. Wild, right? And that's really the core question we're diving into. How does a guy, the son of a poor village schoolteacher, rise to a godlike status in the eyes of millions of investors? Well, it's this incredible journey of ambition that's just off the charts, sheer strategic genius, and a whole lot of controversy. All right, so let's rewind and start at the very, very beginning with his earliest entrepreneurial sparks. So Ambani's story, it doesn't kick off in some fancy boardroom. No way. It starts on the dusty streets of a small village where he was selling fried snacks to pilgrims. But even then, you could tell he had this hunger for more. So at just 16, he sails off to Aden in Yemen, which was this bustling trading port. He starts out as a gas station attendant, can you believe it? And he works his way up, learning the ins and outs of markets, risk, the whole game. So when he finally comes back to India in 1958, he's got about 50,000 rupees in his pocket and a plan that was going to change everything. So after getting his feet wet trading spices and yarn, Ambani decides to make his first really big move, a giant leap into manufacturing. And boom, that's where he hits his first major wall. I want you to really put yourself in his shoes for a second. Imagine you've poured everything into building this incredible state-of-the-art textile mill. It's churning out just a mountain of fabric. But there's a huge problem. The powerful wholesalers, the guys who control the entire market, they just flat out refuse to sell your brand. Your whole investment, everything is about to go down the drain. So what do you do? And this move, right here, is just pure Ambani genius. See, he understood a fundamental rule. You don't have to play a game you can't win. So what did he do? He just created a whole new one. His brilliance wasn't just in making a great product. It was in carving out a totally new path to the customer. He branded it Vimal, he completely bypassed the wholesalers, went straight to the retailers, and then, and this is key, he poured a ton of money into advertising until only Vimal became a household name. Genius. So Vimal was a runaway success, right? But to keep that incredible breakneck growth going, Ambani slammed into an even bigger problem. He needed money, lots of it. Now, you have to understand the time period. This was the era of the license Raj in India. It was this web of intense government regulation. I mean, you needed a license for pretty much everything. The government basically decided who got loans, and for an outsider like Ambani, getting the kind of huge capital he needed from the big banks, it was basically impossible. The whole system was built to keep guys like him out. So what does he do? He pulls off what might be his most daring move ever. He just sidesteps the entire financial establishment. He bypasses the banks, bypasses the old money, and in 1977, he takes Reliance public. He went directly to the people, thousands of first-time middle-class Indians, and invited them to buy a piece of his dream. And the result? It was absolutely unprecedented. Get this, by 1993, 1 out of every 4 shareholders in the entire country owned a piece of Reliance. Think about that. He didn't just build a company, he literally created what he called the Reliance family, millions of people who put their trust in him, and in return, he made them wealthy. Okay, so now he's got this army of investors behind him, right? He's got the fuel he needs to think bigger than anyone had ever dared to imagine. And his strategy was simple but massive. Control everything. He kicked off this huge campaign of what's called backward vertical integration. It sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. He started building plants to make the raw materials for his other plants. So instead of just making fabric, he built a plant to make the yarn for the fabric. Then he built another one to make the petrochemicals for the yarn. You see the pattern? It all led up to his absolute masterpiece, the Jamnagar refinery. And when we talk about the scale of Jamnagar, it's just mind-blowing. After it was expanded, the complex could process over 1.2 million barrels of oil every single day. It became the largest refining hub on the entire planet. Just to build this thing required a workforce bigger than the population of a lot of towns. I mean, at its peak, you had over 70,000 people working on that one site. It's incredible. And if you really want to wrap your head around the scale, try this. The total area of the manufacturing site was bigger than the city of London. Let that sink in. This wasn't just a factory. It was basically an industrial city built from nothing in record time and, get this, under budget. But, and there's always a but in stories like this, when you achieve this kind of epic, almost godlike power to build entire cities from scratch, well, it inevitably raises some tough questions. And that brings us to the other side of this story, the much darker chapter. So here's the question that shadowed Ambani's legacy from the very beginning. Was this incredible rise all just about pure genius and taking big risks? Or were there other, shadier forces at play? A lot of the criticism centers around this one book called The Polyester Prince. Now, this was an unauthorized biography that a journalist wrote, and it was all set to be published in India. But just before it could hit the shelves, bam, Reliance got a legal injunction and effectively had it banned. The official reason was something called anticipatory defamation. And why all the fuss? Well, according to reports, the book was packed with some really serious allegations. We're talking claims that Ambani's empire wasn't just built on good ideas, but on manipulating politicians, on crushing competitors, and basically twisting that whole license Raj system to do exactly what he wanted. So whether you land on him being a hero or something else, one thing you just can't deny. His core philosophy, that Ambani DNA, it's still sending shockwaves through India today. He had this famous mantra, you've probably heard it, think big, think fast, think ahead. And for him, that wasn't just some motivational poster slogan. No, that was the actual blueprint for everything he did, from that first Vimal Gambit all the way to the city-sized Jamnagar refinery. And you don't have to look far to see that exact same DNA at work right now. Just look at his son's company, Jio. It stormed into the telecom market with a strategy that was pure, classic Dhirubhai. Build it huge, offer prices so low they just destroy the competition, and completely upend an entire industry. And today, over 500 million subscribers. The playbook still works. So, in the end, who was Dhirubhai Ambani? Was he the visionary industrialist who gave millions of ordinary people a chance to build wealth and taught a whole nation how to dream bigger? Or was he a ruthless operator who proved that when you're building an empire, maybe the rules are just suggestions? You know, stories like this